Tomorrow show. 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 Oh yeah. Tomorrow show. Yeah, we're good. Yeah. You got that singer. You gotta sing that live, right? You do that?
The Tomorrow Show.
Oh shit, that's probably good.
Woo! The Tomorrow Show.
That's awesome.
Hey!
Real professional. Forgot to unmute. What's going on, y'all?
Hi, guys.
What's happening? Can we hear you, AC?
I think so.
There we go. Yeah, I just gotta turn my thing up. There we go.
Turn me up in my headphones.
There he is. You hear him? You guys hear him?
Can hear him.
Mike, my
Mike?
headphones.
My name is Mike. Sorry for the
I'm Erin,
confusing
and
intro.
we're here with our friend Alia. And we've got AC at his place.
It's been a while, folks. It's been a while. We've missed you of how we've missed you. What have you been up to, everybody? What have you been up to?
What have I been up to?
Yeah, I mean, in general, everybody.
Painting. Doing a lot of painting. A lot of work.
We'll be talking a lot about Alia painting throughout today.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Hi,
Painting.
Phoenix.
Painting, working, painting, working. Hi, Phoenix. Oh, look at those eyes. AC's been, doing his thing with Phoenix, as you can see. And you probably may have tuned in and saw his inaugural stream for this season. New season of programming for the network. That's pretty cool. We got a new background. You guys like the purples and the pinks, the sunset?
I do.
I really like it. I'm trying out a different mug than usual. Got my Star Wars mug. Cheers. Different configuration on the couch.
Mhm.
And a brand new guest in person. We haven't done a whole lot of in-person guests since like pre-2020. So that's tight. So now we did a couple
Super
in
glad
person.
to be here, though.
Look at him. Look at that big boy. That is a nice bandana, Phoenix.
Aw.
It's a nice bandana. You look very, very stylish. Wouldn't you agree?
Very good.
As someone who likes to pop a bandana into the wardrobe,
Yes.
you ever pop a bandana into the wardrobe?
Occasionally.
I used to. It's been a while since I popped a bandana into the wardrobe. AC,
I think I got one on. Nope. Wait.
You did?
Yeah, it's in there somewhere.
it's in there. It's always there. It's
Lots
always
of
there.
layers.
I used to like have really long hair, and I'd occasionally throw the bandana on like some type of hippie pirate and frolic around, go and see live music and stuff like that. The things that probably still to this day make me the most happy is frolicking, being silly, and seeing that live music. That hasn't changed very much. You guys have known me all a pretty long time. Would you say that you would consider those some of my favorite things to do?
Hippie pirate of an opal. Mike.
Do you consider me a frolicker?
Yeah, for sure.
A silly person?
A silly frolicker for sure.
AC, would you concur?
Yes.
And then, we've all gone to see various shows together, so that's pretty cool. We'll be talking a lot about our shared experience throughout today. And the Tomorrow Show, just in case you've never seen it before, Tomorrow Show is talking about the simpler, smaller parts of mental health that fall in between the big conversations that get to be had usually. A lot of times people are talking about huge overhaul of the system, which is definitely needed and necessary to give better like supports to all of us as far as our health is concerned. But they often focus in these pocket areas of like crisis response or education or activism in more general kind of terms. The Tomorrow Show is kind of more about celebrating self-expression and all the in-between stuff that people usually don't include in the conversation. Would you guys agree? Like, there's kind of a hesitancy to talk about like normal everyday things as part of mental health.
Yeah, people are afraid to just share.
Yeah, it's like, oh, why do you like something that you like? Well, 100% of the time is because it makes you feel happier, makes you feel like less doom and gloom that tends to creep in, especially if you're kind of going through tough times, which no matter your age, like if you're an adolescent, there's a lot of things that can be really challenging and difficult. If you're a little older, those things, I hate to tell you, like tend to compound, and there's like more of a cumulative amount of stress, strain, pressure, whatever word you want to kind of give to it. And then instead of going all the way to labeling it as trauma, most times people reserve that for very specific things, and that's what the conversations kind of circle around about. So I think, would you like to add anything about what the Tomorrow Show is about? Co-host AC, co-host Erin?
I think you nailed it. I don't know. I mean, for me, it's nice to have three different people with three different, I don't know, perspectives and things and whatnot, all come together as one, share the same ideas, still like learn different things from one another, show people that you can like, you can get along with others and learn and take things from other people and apply that into the world. That's kind of how I take it.
That's fucking teamwork, right?
Yeah.
Tenacious D, shout out. And also, we've got the hive mind of the internet. Like, you out there in Twitch land, or later, if you're watching this on YouTube, or you're sharing a clip from the show on some other social media, we want to kind of know your perspective. We all stand to learn something from each individual we encounter. There's not a lot of times that we engage with randos, though. I gotta say, I've noticed that more and more. When you're out in the community, it's a different vibe than maybe like I used to just small talk, little chit chat.
I do that, but that's my job.
Yeah, well, so if you're working in service like you are, slanging coffee, making delicious latte art. I
will say it's less often than it used to be, though. For sure. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, let me
people
just kind of pose a question. When people are like kind of by themselves, do you think they all feel anxious, and that's why they're kind of more inclined to have this private conversation with their phone, reaching out to whoever through whatever means, rather than engage with a human being that's standing beside them, waiting in the same line, or like waiting for their food, or
I think people's patience has just kind of waned a lot, and they don't enjoy having the small talk conversations anymore. Like, people are aggravated by it, I think, a lot of times, and so would rather just not interact with other people and just kind of keep to themselves. That's what I've encountered a lot anyway.
Almost like this very subtle, like, why are you talking to me?
Kind of
like,
thing.
I don't know you.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel
nosy.
Well, I think people have lost their ability to kind of interact with other people because of being isolated, during the pandemic. I think that's caused a lot of people to not want to talk to others because they were alone, or they weren't able to go do things that they normally do and interact with more people on the regular, and people kind of forgot.
Yeah. That's what I've come across is like a lot of sort of like one-sided conversations in a way, where you ask them a question about themselves, and then they don't like reciprocate that, and there's like a lot of that, and you're just kind of like left there standing like,
good talk.
Cool.
And I encountered that yesterday. I had gone to an event and there was a conversation that I was having. Well, I wasn't having the conversation. I was being talked at. And never once did the other person ever ask anything personally about me. And I'd not known this person. So it was a new encounter and it was all very one-sided. And then after they were finished, it was like, why? What was the point of this conversation? You know, it wasn't enjoyable to kind of have a back and forth banter. It was just listening to that person all about themselves.
Yeah.
Well, in the chat, we've got Scramsky sounding off here too. So I'm just going to read that. Scramsky, can you put your comment on the screen? That's always like a super nice. Oh yeah. I like that. Doesn't that look good? This guy's talented. First of all, shout out Scramsky for always being awesome and patient. Speaking of lack of patience,
I think overall technology in general. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, definitely the pandemic, didn't help. People communicating. I think overall in general, as years have gone by with technology, people just don't talk to one another. They just don't. If you think about it, like back in the day, there were no like self-serve kiosks at your local Kroger or your Meijer or your Walmart. Like you actually talk to people when you walk through the lines. Excuse me. And that's like, you really kind of knew your community that way. I feel like that just in general, like people talk to each other,
closer knit. Yeah.
Like you talk to one another, like you were at a grocery store, like, hey, I like that band. Like, I don't see that happening more, or I don't see that happening a lot these days, or like even like fun rivalries, like I saw somebody the other day and I was like, oh, you're a Wolverine fan. Oh, it's gotta be rough.
Yeah.
And he just looked at me like I was crazy. And I'm just like, okay, like years ago, like somebody would have been like, haha, or, and now like people are just like, okay, it's like, I don't know. I could go on, but
no, I think there's a key word that you're hitting on right here from Scramsky, outgoing. Like that brings up the kind of deeper discussion is that like some people feel like they're more of an introvert. Some people feel like they're more of an extrovert. Mm-hmm. Is that a social construct? Is that like people being like, oh, you're this kind of person and you're this kind of person, and then it like just became a thing? Or is it like, is that like a fair way to kind of like challenge yourself one way or another? Like maybe I should be a better listener, like to the extreme extrovert, or maybe I should contribute more to the extreme, on that spectrum of introvert to extrovert. Like the person that feels more introverted, they're challenging themselves to like be more outgoing, like this anxiety that people experience. And Scott was like kind of brave enough to kind of just speak about plainly is something that a lot of people are dealing with, like dog anxiety too, right?
No.
So it's just like the second comment that Scramsky threw down was having to learn to communicate or relearn it, or having to decide to make yourself like take some more chances, whatever that looks like for you. What's up, Kigley? Woo to you as well. So yeah, that's like a small kind of taste of what we're after on this program, is to have very open conversations where, of course, we're smashing stigma. That's like what we do. That's the name of the game at the network. But like going beyond that, like let's talk about why this thing makes me happy. Let's talk about how that can be a tool for me, since healthcare is not always in my favor, or maybe it is, and it's just an extra supplement for you. We want to make that the mental health conversation on this show and in the community. And if you feel like it's hard for you to talk in public, and you feel like going to your device and having a conversation with somebody that you do feel comfortable and like trusted, like that trust is there, and that kind of comforts you since you're anxious out in public or you're out in a social situation that feels overwhelming. That's fine. Use those things as tools, and then I don't know, just take whatever points of this little short discussion about that and however you want to take it, and contribute your own perspectives on this, because I think it fills in the gaps we all have or assume we know about mental health or individual experience when it comes to our emotions. So yeah, that's what this is, the Tomorrow Show. What we've been up to, we're gonna kind of weave that through as we talk today. And I don't know.
Yeah.
Is there anything else top of the show we want to discuss? How do we know Alia? I mean, this is, first of all, this is my partner. We got married in 2020, September 22nd of 2020. This was our officiant. So that gives you an idea of how we're all connected on this bench. That guy over there, let's all point at him. Point, yeah, you got point. Yeah, you got to think about it. Yeah, this is how the screen works. That guy, that's AC, Erin Coleman, musician, multi-instrumentalist, producer, MC, skater, heartthrob, dog dad.
Easy.
So many things. Am I missing anything? Did I get them all?
Friend?
Oh, dear friend. Friend.
Yeah.
Road dog. We used to go on tour with Mason's Case, and that's how we got to know each other and got to be as close as we are. Former roommate as well, kind of with the both of us for a bit, and also one-time cat sitter, maybe 2 times. I'm not actually sure.
Until Gandalf, our cat here, tried to break his TV.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
Andy.
Minnie.
That's Minnie right there, keeping watch over the neighbor dog, Honey.
AC has Sweet Phoenix over there.
Sweet Phoenix over there. And we got all this coming together for this awesome nonprofit, the Hope for Us Network, because we believe in how they approach this conversation. And what's up, Carl, if you're out there watching it right now or future days. And then everybody else, Christina, Scott, if you want to come on screen for a second, just to show everybody, kind of like, so they have an idea of the person that is the network, unless you don't really want to do that. You be like, I'm good in the chat. But there he is. Yeah, that's a dude right there. Yeah.
Hi.
That's Scott. Yeah. So Scott puts a lot of time and effort into making these live streams happen. We took a little bit of time off, and now we're back. And so whenever you're like, how are they doing all that? It's because of that guy way up here.
Thank you.
So thanks for all you do, Christina Bravo. Thanks for all you do, and all the friends in the past and future that have been involved and continuously help out. Shout out to Gabby. Shout out to Marlo. Shout out to
Ben.
Yeah, Ben. I mean,
Kate Smith.
Goodness. We
Smith.
got Kate Smith, and I think Paul is the gentleman that's done some of the puppet stuff. We got Ryan Shannon in this world.
Justin
Hopkins. Everybody that's contributed. If I'm forgetting anybody, don't feel offended. We've had a bunch of guests on over the years. And we continue to try and bring those people back around, but also bring some new voices into the fold. So that's what we've been up to. And hopefully at some point you'll get to we'll do like a little time capsule of some moments of the past or something like that. Because I think we've done a lot and haven't really had the time to look back. You know what I mean?
Things happen, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to kind of sign with how information gets shared nowadays. It's kind of hard to stop and look back sometimes because then you're like, oh, I'm missing the new thing or whatever the reason is for you. So, but yeah, we're really excited to be here. I think that's all the introductions, right? Should we get into our first segment of season 3?
Sure.
Do you like plants?
I do like plants.
I know. I knew the answer to that. I knew the answer to that. My Scott, you're
My
always
Scott.
with us.
And watching.
Yeah. I'm glad you comments section chat people. I'm glad you enjoyed Sign of the Times. I thought it was pretty great. I always think the output of AC is excellent, inspiring, and worth watching. Quick plug, AC everywhere on streaming platforms. He redropped his catalog with new stuff as well. Anything else you want to say about that, dude?
Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, you got people listening in different countries, and that's amazing, and I'm really proud of you.
There's things I want to say that I can't say.
Okay, good. Cool.
We'll talk about it in the next episode.
Cool.
Next episode. Cool. Yeah, well, I know she likes plants. I know you like plants, so of course we know Erin D loves plants. I know that Alia loves plants because Alia is very, very talented at growing cannabis.
Thank you.
Yeah, and a wealth of knowledge too, as far as like us being in Illinois and it being legal, and the work that she does as cannabis professional. It's just it's pretty cool. We get to kind of learn and appreciate this medicine that is kind of in this in between in different states across the U.S. And also uses, recreationally, right?
Yeah.
So I think you're really going to get a kick out of the nature is amazing and so are you segment.
Yes, for sure. Nature is amazing.
It is.
Cannabis is amazing as well as a therapeutic tool. Not for everybody, obviously, but it does help a lot of people with a lot of ailments. And so I'm glad that we get to enjoy that here in Illinois.
And watching you cultivate is cool. It's like, you're like, check this out and explain this. And then you're like, look at how beautiful this part is. And like, it's, you're clearly, and nature is amazing. And so are you kind of person.
Yeah. And I learned from the best. One of my really good friends taught me everything. And like, I would bounce things off of him when I would like get stuck with my plants and stuff. And he was kind of my guide for the first year of doing it. And now I'm continue to do it. And I'm able to enjoy my medicine that I make, and I know what goes into it, and and I don't have to question where it came from, and I don't have to pay the recreational prices because they're expensive.
Sure.
Yeah.
And maybe we can do like a quick fire Q&A about that type of stuff a little later.
Sure.
Stick around for that. All right. So, do you want to say anything before? Do you want to introduce your segment?
Yeah. So. Mike asked me a little while ago, just the usual, I don't know, 5th grade question, 3rd grade question.
Where's the sky blue?
Yeah. He
Sorry.
was like, why do leaves change color? And it's like, it's actually a very complicated answer.
Yeah.
So
Did anybody else wonder what that is? I wonder it often, and I just had to ask it aloud.
So we did
And,
some research.
Yeah. You're a good researcher. Can I just say that, Erin D?
Oh, thanks.
You're like the finest researcher in the land.
Fastest Googler too.
Fastest Googling fingers
Yeah.
this side of the Mississippi. Maybe in the continental U.S. There is that one person in Hawaii that is a little faster.
Phoenix is looking at us. Sorry, I got
Find the legs
distracted.
on your legs. It's gonna be there.
No, it's cool. Cool. Well, and so you're going to answer that question for us.
Yay.
Damn.
So yeah, we can roll the.
And then we're going to
roll the
discuss.
intro.
Then we'll discuss.
Yeah.
Phoenix's little face.
Nature is amazing. So are you.
So warm temperatures and sunlight are what help produce chlorophyll in leaves. So it's the pigment that makes the plants green. And as the temperatures drop and sunlight lessens, gets darker earlier, right? It decreases. The chlorophyll starts to decrease, like in these. So the other pigments start becoming more Well, there's two pigments that start becoming more visible that are always there. And then there's one pigment that starts to be produced at this time of year. So there's a little squirrel guy.
Hi, buddy.
So there is carotenoids and flavonoids, and then there's anthocyanins. So carotenoids and flavonoids are what make it either yellow or red, and anthocyanins will be synthesized in the autumn to make it red. So yeah, so basically, if it's like a yellow leaf, then they have carotenoids and flavonoids that are always present, and the chlorophyll in those breaks down. So it slowly breaks down. If it is orange, then it also has xenophils, which will they have xenophils, which is beta carotene. And beta carotene absorbs green and blue light and reflects red and yellow. So it comes out. So these ones that have like the multiple colors have, all of these present. So anthocyanin synthesizes begin in fall, and sugar concentrates increase, and the sunlights, they increase it, and the sunlight initiates the production.
Oh.
So things like maples, like sugar maples, which have a lot of sugar in them, they're going to help produce this anthocyanin.
Huh.
So certain trees kind of have that stuff. So Mike and I just went on this little walk and found all these cool changing leaves, and so that's like, and then the brown, of course, is just all of that just starting to decompose.
Nice.
Oh, and the reason that they drop their leaves is because they're trying to save up energy for the winter. So if they have all these leaves to take care of and turn green, that takes up a lot of their energy. So they drop them, they change the color, and then they drop them to
go to sleep.
Yeah.
Because they're getting ready to kind of just like conserve and rebirth.
Yeah, because it's way too much energy to take what little sunlight there is and what little warmth there is to try to like produce all of that.
Makes sense.
Isn't that crazy how color works, where it's actually something is actually being absorbed and something is bouncing?
Yeah.
Like the visible light spectrum, like the whole idea of a rainbow being that the light that's everywhere right now being spread out into its individual parts through refraction, right? Yeah. With the like moisture in the air or whatever. I think it's so fascinating that when you start to think about nature that way, where you're like, wait, this is just the light parts that are bouncing off, that I'm seeing the color, that I'm perceiving this pigment or this shade of red or whatever, and that some of that light from that sun stayed in the thing, like absorbed into the thing.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy if you start to think about it.
Well, and then you think about the color black or the shade of black or whatever, or like total black or true black or whatever. It absorbs everything.
Yeah, there's no refraction.
Well, then I was thinking about the beta carotene, which is also in Erin. Is it like
all the light
getting
is getting absorbed, and then the orange part is bouncing back, or anything of that color. That's so wild.
Yeah.
Ooh, look at those crunchers. Oh, I just want to just stomp around on those crunchers.
Well, you were back too.
Oh, really? Oh, you did put that in?
Crunchers.
I love stomping on some crunchers. I don't know about you guys. I guess it's like the closest thing to ASMR I think that I do is like I'll see crunchy leaves and I'll just crunch them.
So
good shots.
Yeah.
Good leaves.
Basically, I guess like white birch, those don't have, all these other pigments already in there. Like that's another wild part of it, is that the chlorophyll, the green, is covering up the two other or multiple other pigments in it. And then that fades.
It's like overpowering all the other pigments.
So that's the dominant color.
Yeah. And so then that stops producing, I guess, constantly. And it fades. So then the yellow and the orange can come out.
Can you, Scott, can you pull up that video just like so we can have a visual of what's chlorophyll is the green one. Can you just find a green spot and we'll just appreciate that? There it is. There's some, oh yeah.
Green to yellow.
And then you can see the yellow there.
We got some yellow too. This is a two-tone color swatch. Mm-hmm. Wait, so what is the yellow that we can agree that's a little bit yellow, a little bit orange, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Because that's other shit that's crazy about colors. We see different shades, kind of.
Xenophil.
Xenophil?
It's in beeches, ashes, birches, aspens, and oaks. And it also contributes to the bright yellow in squash and corn.
Ooh.
Xenophil. Say it. Isn't it fun to say?
It is fun.
So
is it an X?
Yep.
It starts with an X? Or
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. It's a good.
Not a Z. I was going to guess Z, secondly.
Yeah.
Or xanthophil. Yeah, xanthophil.
Xanthophil?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was just shouting it loudly incorrectly.
Xanthophil.
Great.
Well, I said it wrong. Xanthophil.
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 So, yeah. So
that sounds like something Zoolander would say. Xanthophil.
So that's, I think, an aspen.
Okay.
They
all right.
look like they're like shaking.
Can you find one of the frames that is just super duper red?
That would be the cyanthophyll, right? The cyan.
Anthocyanin.
Anthocyanin is the red.
So that's starting to be red. So that is starting to be produced in it.
That's the one that comes along later in the season, and the plant starts to produce it. Okay.
Yeah, anthocyanins are produced as chlorophyll is broken down with the help of the sugar.
That's interesting. So it's kind of like a byproduct of a chemical reaction that's taking place.
Yeah, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like it.
It like falls apart and it becomes like this thing.
Maybe the sugar breaks down the chlorophyll.
That's interesting.
Chlorophyll.
Decay, man. Decay and rotting is not as gross when you're talking about leaves.
Yeah.
It's very cool when you're talking about leaves.
It's kind of cool when you're talking about it. Whatever. If you
you're right. Beta carotene was the orange though, right? Or is it just keratin?
Hold on. Yeah. So hold on. So red anthocyanin is often seen in red maples, scarlet oaks, red sumacs. Here's a picture of a swamp chestnut oak I'm looking at. So what I want to look more into, which I didn't have time to, is the leaves that are always red. Like
the Asian maple or whatever.
Maple. Yeah, those bright red ones.
Yeah, where they're like a deep red, and you're like, damn.
Or like
look at that sexy leaves.
Some plants that you
Anybody
have.
Else? No.
Some plants that you have that are that have red in them all the time.
Right.
Like, is that? I wonder if that's that they're like constantly producing this anthocyanin or whatever.
It would be interesting to know if it's similar to a cannabis plant, where if you have different nutrients, if the nutrients change, if it would change the color of a tree leaf, because if you add different nutrients or you don't have certain nutrients in cannabis plant, it can make the plant change color.
Yeah.
So that's how sometimes the leaves are like purple or like a dark color or like super dark green or a really bright green.
Yeah.
Because it has different.
And if you're like one of your house plants starts to change color, it's because it's like, some nutrient is lost.
Yeah. AC's got a little chlorophyll in the background. Well, it's not as chlorophyll-y as it was, but for a second it was all green in there. You still got those color changes? Can you make, if somebody asked you what's the team colors of Detroit Red Wings, you could be like anthocyanin.
Red and white.
Red.
What?
You got red? You got red in there? Oh, that's
probably. I don't know if it shows up as red.
Right.
More like a purple.
Yeah, it comes through like Prince vibes, actually. Yeah, it's so purple.
What color is the room though?
Well, the room is also purple.
If you were here, like it would be red.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Like
so but like you could always like educate some people with a little factoid
Yeah. So then the beta. So
what's
you
your favorite color?
Wait,
It's not green.
said,
It's chlorophyll.
So you said beta carotene.
Well,
So that's the
carotene is the orange, basically. The beta is probably like superfluous or what?
Carotene. Well, there's something called carotenoids.
Oh.
So that's like a subclass of it. Makes it orange.
Well, cool. Yeah, this might make you want to research it more yourself as well. It can be fun to go down a rabbit hole on the internet that's like not total hell and shit. You know, It could be really fun. Dude, we're gonna have a pump up the jam in a little while. I think we're gonna maybe throw down a pump up the jam segment this season.
So so those are sugar maples, have a lot of orange in them. I like it when the orange is like kind of that. Like, Scott, can you find that shot? It's like an oak tree that's was that brown orange color.
Kind of like a salamander color.
Yeah, it's so pretty.
Do you remember?
That's a maple.
Okay.
There it is.
That one.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I like the russet.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Is it russet? No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like it gives it like this I don't know, this quality that it feels peak fall.
For sure.
I also like deep reds though. Like really, I can't choose a favorite, but like let's try. Lightning round. Everybody, don't think too much about it. Out of these 3 or 4, I guess, green, yellow, orange, and red. Just don't think about it. What's your favorite shade of fall?
Red.
Orange.
AC.
Orange.
Scott. Orange. I saw it. I read his lips. I read his mustache.
I think that, yeah.
Yes. Okay. So we have.
Yeah.
I think we're leaning towards the peak fall colors anyway.
Yeah.
Yellow's good though. Yellow and green. Don't feel bad. Yellow and green.
The whole combination of the spectrum of like the green to the yellow to the orange to the red is beautiful.
Very exciting.
But when it's brown and dead, then it's like.
I will say the brown ones do get a nice crunch on them.
They do.
You know, not like I'm eating them like chips or nothing, folks. Don't get it twisted. I just like to crunch on them.
The crunch steps.
The crunch steps, you know. Yeah. Anybody else a fan of crunch steps?
I like crunch
steps. Or
are
you like?
No, that's with the snow, with the cotton ball.
Oh, you
snow.
don't like the crunchy snow? No. Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Scott, for pulling up them beige.
Beautiful leaves.
Beautiful leaves.
I saw there was an evergreen in there too. I saw pop through.
There was an evergreen. Just because I wanted to just mention that, obviously those don't change.
You were just trying to like see if we're paying attention.
Yeah, they're
evergreen.
They are.
Yeah.
Is that all? I wonder if that's all chlorophyll that just like kind of is like cooking in there all day. They're like, I'm an evergreen. I can make chlorophyll like no problem.
But they don't go dormant either. Yeah. Evergreens just
right.
Stay...
That's what I mean. Like
what creates
the deciduous and conifers.
Oh, no, the conifers. Maybe because they drop their pod seeds and they don't have to worry about their leaves.
I think pine cones are like a great transitional
and they
nature
they have
item.
Needles too.
Right, and they don't have leaves; they have needles.
You like pine cones, guys? Who's a fan of pine cones here?
I have like a collection of like 10 pine cones right there.
I think they're one of the most beautiful transitional nature pieces because it's like. It's fall, but it is also winter, kind of.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
doesn't it have like a Fibonacci sequence in it?
Oh, it's just like such an interesting example of how nature does this very cool pattern.
There's a big one,
and it's not quite symmetrical all the time, but it's like you think about the fact that thing just grew on a tree, and you start taking some time to think about that. It's the same type of thing as talking about color absorption, like where you're like, what the fuck? And like sometimes it's good to be humbled by things we can't quite explain.
Like, did you know that when you go for a walk in the woods and there's a lot of conifer trees and people are like, oh, I can breathe better? Did you know that there's a reason for that?
No.
So it's because the terpenes in the pine trees, in the conifer trees, It's called pinene, and it actually is a bronchial dilator, and it helps you breathe better, which is also a terpene that's found in cannabis.
Could you get like for like your asthma? Or something, could you get like a terpene inhaler?
I mean,
do they have those?
They don't have those, but they
herbalists
do
use
correct.
pine.
The herbalists use pine.
I think Native Americans have used pine for a very long time. They
steep it in water and make teas,
and then you just like inhale the steam.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a bronchodilator.
If you want to try that for your breathing, it sounds like a natural remedy that we're not unqualified to talk about.
And also,
well, you on the other hand,
but also in lots of cannabis strains, pinene is one of the major terpenes that are found.
Ooh, I've had some delicious piney buds.
Yeah, and those are the ones that have. I mean, it has other medicinal properties besides being a bronchodilator, but that's one of the cool ones that when people are like, I can breathe better in this wooded area, they really can.
I like doing a stomp through a pine forest through the pine needles.
To make the pine needles
got a little crunch to them
too. They get a little slippery.
They can be slippery.
They do.
Yeah. You've been taking some walks, right?
Yeah, AC, do you have any questions? We're kind of.
You guys ever been in a pine cone fight?
Oh my gosh, no.
That sounds very Michigan, bro.
It sounds dangerous.
I love it. Is that something you did growing up?
Pine cone fights.
Little ones or big ones?
I mean,
whatever ones you can pick up the forest floor.
Fair game. No headshots.
No headshots. Okay. No headshots. Come on.
In the snow and make weapons.
Yeah.
Roll pine cones in snow and make weapons?
Yeah, it'd be like
that sounds
dangerous.
Excessive.
It's dangerous, but
you hit somebody the right way with a pine cone.
I'm sure it hurts.
It will hurt, and you might draw blood.
Yeah,
that sounds
this guy's pointy.
It sounds like you and your brothers chasing each other through a Michigan backyard, throwing pine cones at each other.
No.
Yeah,
I've never done that. I have had this is very stupid firework fights with my friends in Indiana.
Okay, that's worse.
Yeah, that's worse.
Definitely.
You've done that.
Yeah.
Chase
done
each
that.
Don't do
each
Been
other
there,
broken.
done that. Yeah. Instead, learn about
this.
plants and nature.
Don't try this.
Yeah. I think there's a fair amount of dumb things we do over the course of our lives, and it is Roman candle wars is exactly right. You feel like you feel like you're very much supposed to be doing that when you're doing that.
Better fall activities like
jumping
into leaves piles.
Yes.
Jumping in leaf piles, good times, or
crunching them.
Just crunching them up is fine too. Or sometimes
like a scarecrow.
I think something you failed to mention is that you press leaves.
Oh, but I also another thing we were talking about. Okay, so a big thing is to leave the leaves instead of raking them up, because they house like a bunch of insects over the winter. So really important pollinators. So like I know that like a lot of big moths will have like their little cocoons in there, and they somehow survive over winter in the leaves
with a big leaf blanket.
And then bees will queen bees will like make their little winter homes in leaves. So it's actually better to like leave the leaves and not rake them up, because they also make good compost for your yards and will help the pollinators survive. So
I also saw that thing where you could instead of bagging them up and getting rid of them, just break them into your like where you would get in mulch.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of spending money on mulch.
Yeah. It also can help with like insulation of other plants for the winters too. So like in your flower beds, you can just put them all in there, and then you don't have to worry about covering plants that might get frostbitten. Do
you have any pressed leaves that you wanted to share? Like, because pressing leaves, you might not know what that is.
That's super fun.
But it's pretty neat.
I think I can. Well, I can't really get them out of there,
so
I'm not going to show them.
You picked up a couple of leaves on your walk.
Yeah, They're not exactly pressed, but all you have to do is take a leaf and put it.
That's a good leaf.
It's as big as Frankie's
Oh
head.
yeah.
We should show that. I don't know. We should
All you
ask
have
some
to do is
permission.
take a leaf and put it in between in a heavy book. Put it between some pages, and it'll flatten.
Yeah, and if you're feeling extra
and it
fancy,
also preserves the color
Mm-hmm.
better than not pressing it. We liked this one because this side barely has like any color on it, and then you turn it over and it's like
anthocyanin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
But yeah, pressing leaves and flowers is lovely.
It was lovely.
I like it. I like flowers. I like leaves. I am just a plant guy, I guess. This is a very cool. Here, let me bring that close. Nice. That's from one of the plants you cultivated?
Yes.
Cool.
And it's as big as my husband's head.
That's
So
a
it's
that's
a
a
big
large leaf.
It's a big leaf.
He has a large head.
He
He's
does.
large brain. Large
He's
brain.
in the comments
I know.
actually.
Oh no way,
Mhm.
Buka!
Oh, baby.
Hi, dude.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
that's from one of the new plants that I have growing right now currently.
And how do you pick out what type of cannabis you are going to grow?
I usually pick it out from the strains from the seeds that I buy. So
Okay.
I already know what I want in the plant. So I usually like things that are more energetic.
Reverse engineering.
More energetic, more citrusy. Those seem to give me more energy and help with creativity.
Mm-hmm.
So I usually look for those types of strains. Not anything that's going to make me sleepy and tired. I mean, sometimes those are okay, but I prefer the other ones to be able to enhance my creativity and help with my moods and give me a little bit more energy.
Yeah, I get really into some negative or like emotional, frustrated kind of headspaces, and cannabis helps me. Like you said, I'll feel like a little more creative, or I don't know. In some ways, I am very intense emotionally, and it makes me care less about like everything.
Not in like a bad way.
No.
No, but it just dulls it a little bit.
So yeah, speaking of language, we're going to talk a little more about language, but yeah, I'm trying to find the right words for it. But it's like sometimes. Okay, so first of all, I live with bipolar disorder. So I was diagnosed in 2014 after having a manic episode that was disruptive enough to land me in the hospital for 5 days, and to assess me and like learn a little bit more about why sometimes I kind of like will have adult like meltdowns, or kind of just overwhelmed to the point of just not healthy, and it's disruptive to relationships or just generally my quality of life. So when I take breaks from smoking, and it like my full emotional register returns, the peaks can be quite jagged, and so moodiness, there you go. That's like, if you think of it as like, oh, I'm just like kind of doing pretty well. So like, sure, I get pissed off about some things, or I get sad about some things, and I get happy about other things. Everything's kind of manageable and not quite so like spiky, And then so what I mean when I say it makes me like care less, it just kind of like rounds off those spiky peaks where like I'm able to like let things go instead of fixate, and like kind of stay stuck and perseverate on something that's really bugging me, because that can spin me out, But I can sometimes be helpless to kind of knock myself out of it, and so I think that's probably why I like cannabis, and why traditional medication that some people take for whatever range of mental health challenges they're experiencing wasn't really kind of working out for me. It definitely like removed any emotional peaks and valleys. I was kind of flatlining, and feeling kind of like
rather than
empty.
still having
the emotion, but
Yeah.
being more in control of those.
And I could have probably worked with the doctor to adjust dosage and stuff like that, but I was really just kind of frustrated and felt like I already had something that
was working.
Working for me since I was like in high school, you know, like without really realizing why. Like, sure, maybe part of it was that I just liked to party with my friends when I was young, but like I think some of it was survival. Yeah, without really realizing it.
Yeah, just like us.
I mean, most people that use cannabis are using it as a self-medication. I mean, that's why it's so important to have education around cannabis, because people can use it in a harmful way for themselves if they don't know what they're doing, you know, and then they have a negative experience. They don't want to try it anymore, and then those benefits go out the window. So I think that's really important that we have to have that education around that, so that people can still feel their emotions and know how to use it properly to help them better themselves and their better quality of life. So because we can't walk around like zombies and just be completely turned off. Yeah, we still have to have those peaks and valleys. Like you said, not so spiky. Yeah.
That makes us human. And spikiness is just really how I'm reaching to articulate it. Maybe that helps for you to put words to whatever you might be going through, or what you kind of experience that seems different than maybe like everybody else walking around acting like they got their shit together.
Yeah, they don't.
You know, it's a mask, a mask that everybody wears in a different way, and sometimes we just put the mask on too for like just for work, or like, and we're like able to take it off with our friends and stuff like that. And to some degree, you have to do that. Yeah. I guess.
I mean, to be productive, I guess you have to kind of.
Yeah.
But in general, that's just like a good bit to think about. What are some of the other stuff you see people coming in needing relief, you know, especially on the medicinal side of cannabis being legal here?
So I'm not in the dispensary anymore, but when I was at the dispensary, it was just medical before recreation started, and a lot of people were coming in for pain relief, which is the main thing that people are just trying to look for, is somehow to stop the pain that they have, and even if it's just for a little tiny bit of time, chronic pain, or residual pain from procedures that they might have had. There would be people that would come in and want something strong and or high in THC to help like wean them off of an opioid, for example.
Okay, like harm reduction.
Correct. Gotcha. So Illinois actually has the OAPP, which is the opioid alternative program in cannabis, and you can get that card. It's a lot easier than getting your medical card, but you can get that card to help you reduce the amount of opioids you're taking and substitute that with a higher strain of cannabis, and then the doctor would wean you off of that as well. So that is out there for people. There's a lot of people that don't know that that's there.
Yeah, and just like to clear up any maybe demystifying what we mean by opiates too. That's not just heroin. There's a lot of different things. A lot of painkillers that are prescribed.
Yeah, exactly.
Post operations or procedures that need to take place for the health and well-being of that individual.
Yes.
You've seen it talked about when it comes to like a professional athlete being addicted to painkillers because they got to keep playing this sport that's destroying their body or whatever. But it's an everyday thing for a lot of people too that experience chronic pain from rheumatoid arthritis or any number of fibromyalgia. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things that are kind of invisible,
right?
Including mental health stuff, right? So
yeah,
that's interesting.
The pain relief is the number one thing that I think most people are coming in to get at medical dispensaries. I mean, then of course at the rec dispensaries, people are coming in for whatever reason they want to come in because they're adults and they can. But still, some of those people are self-medicating and just don't have a medical card for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But in Illinois, it's very easy to get a card now. And I mean, you do have to see a doctor, so you have to find a doctor that is on board that's going to help you with that kind of journey. And most dispensaries do have people that are knowledgeable and could talk to you about that journey that you want to embark on to see what's going to help you. But again, it's not for everybody, and in moderation, of course, because we're not, trying to promote.
It's pretty wild. Like just how different. So I don't know about the rest of you watching out there or any of you sitting here or there with me, but when I was in high school, I never, ever, ever thought that I'd be living in a place in America where there's stores where you can go buy it, let alone, you know, soda and pretzels and like, you know, lotions and just anything you could think of, gummies, mints, you know.
Popsicles.
I don't know that I could have, my brain couldn't even conceive of a future like that. So when things are like really getting me down about like how intense and difficult the world has seemingly become in the last few years, I think about some of those things that were like, oh, that's kind of positive that you know, some people can try something that's not going to get them addicted and, you know, for the pain management, or somebody that, you know, finds relief that they haven't found relief in anything else. And people that don't like to smoke can find like this whole, you know,
it's a whole other realm,
right? Like,
people can use.
How mind blowing is that?
Yeah.
I mean,
there's everything from gummies to tablets to pretzels to chocolate bars to marshmallows for s'mores. There's mushroom chocolate bars that have THC, and then lion's mane and reishi in them to help with other, you know, adaptive things in your body to kind of hit all the different things that in the receptors that you have. There's so many things, you know, and some of them are just a very niche thing, and some of them are going to be here to stay for a long time because we know that they work and they can help people.
wow.
Yeah, so.
Fire off a couple more Q&As for this cannabis professional / painter / amazing pet mama, friend, officiant, so many things. Educator,
Ex-teacher.
Yeah.
Once a teacher, always a teacher.
AC, you got some questions for Leah?
Did you know that Snoop Dogg quit smoking weed again?
I did see that.
He'd done that before?
I didn't know that.
He's done it before.
He said something the other day. It was like, when it happened, he was like, please respect my privacy at this time.
Yeah.
But then somebody was like teasing him because he says that, and then he's like talking about it all the time. And they're like, we're trying to respect your privacy, but you're just bringing us in.
He's doing some things with hemp and THC, like Delta 8 and stuff as well. So
interesting.
I think maybe the smoking aspect is what he has in secession as opposed to everything cannabis related.
I have a feeling that's the case too.
Which is, there's various studies that are out. No, he has to keep smoking.
It's
He's
weird.
all I got left. Him and Willie Nelson. That's it.
Well, I actually saw Snoop talking about a time he smoked with Willie. Mm-hmm. He said it's the only time that he's ever been like, I'm good. Like, because Willie's just like sending joints around. And he said it was the only, he was in like Las Vegas with Willie Nelson. He was like, I think that was the only time, man, that I was ever like, no, I'm good. I'm straight. Like, when it came to him. So,
but even Willie has slowed down a lot because he said that it, you know, since it's been such a long time. I mean, he does use other things like topicals and stuff, but not as much smoke. I mean, there are studies that are out. They need more case studies. Of course, we need to have that legalization available in order to have more studies to have peer reviews. So, I mean, you can do a study with like 10 people and you'd be like, oh, this study shows this. It's like, yeah, but it's not like a wide part of the population. We need to be able to do proper studies to see if there are issues that cannabis can cause. And, you know, and if there are, how do we go about fixing that?
Instead of just like sort of a fear-based, you know. And
or a blanket statement like, oh, this is good for you. Like,
right.
You know, I mean, we know that it has therapeutic properties, but at the same time, like, we need to make sure we study it properly.
And a lot of our like, a lot of the, you know, things that people would say about that are based on, I mean, frankly, propaganda from, you know, older propaganda against, you know, based on the times of like the war on drugs. So yeah, we need like that makes sense. Actual studies.
Yeah.
Where did you hear that about Snoop?
His Instagram page.
Yeah, on Instagram.
Man, I haven't been able to look at my phone. I
You've been
guess
busy.
the last couple of days.
Yeah.
but-
He said my family, my doctors, and I have all talked, or something like that.
Yep.
Well, I mean that's cool because
No.
It's cool.
Minnie agrees with you, AC. Minnie,
I don't know. I think she heard a sound and she thinks someone's here. I think it's just like I've taken breaks for an extended period of time, and I think it's I don't know. It's interesting to like just check in with yourself. I think, and he's just a person, right? You know, I know he's like more than.
It's fine. He cannot. It's fine.
But
I'm
you also have to
joking.
reset sometimes.
It's part of me is like, you know what, Snoop, do you? The other part of me is like, no, because back in the day, before it was cool or whatever, and I don't know if you got this, Mike, or you did, Alia, Erin, but I know when I was coming up, you were the bad kid or the burnout, or you were the troublemaker, or you were the this and that if you smoked weed.
Yep.
And I
A lot of wagging the
always
finger.
would prove people wrong and be like, no, it's fine. I'm not hurting anyone. I'm doing productive things, you know, and like, you know, Snoop Dogg, Willie Nelson, Woody Harrelson. Those were like my
Angelou
heroes, you know, growing up, because they smoked weed and they talked about it openly.
Right,
you know?
and they're productive.
Yeah,
they're
Society,
successful.
they're successful. Yeah.
Yeah.
But people would just hate them, you know, and like, you know, and so now that it's like, you know, it's just funny to me because now it's legal and it's like,
yeah,
it's just funny to me. That's all.
Well, I think that's a really, really important part of it too, because that's why I feel really encouraged and excited that someone like Alia is in the cannabis industry as a professional, because you're asking those questions. You're like, yeah, why isn't the study actually peer reviewed? And like, why don't we make it a legitimate scientific approach that further legitimizes it so more people can get help that is appropriate for them, right? And I think it's also important because now that it is legal and there's so much money involved and so much profit that can be made, it does change things. It does, like, I want my marketing campaign to say that it's great for everything.
Right.
And I want to make a lot of money. And that's why it's really nice to have people with integrity that are going to respect what the plant can do and advocate for the right things. Because there's already a bunch of fucking people that are just trying to make a buck off of it, because now it's, you know,
right.
It can be transactional and not necessarily thinking about people and how we care for each other. And that is why the network is called what it is like, connect us, you know, let's take care of each other, since the systems that are in place, the infrastructure that exists is flawed. There's lots of flaws. We don't have time to unpack all of the flaws of not enough care or
no one has
not
that
enough
kind of time.
access to insurance, or, you know, providers that are culturally sensitive to what you need, like that look like you, that talk like you, you know, there's all sorts of issues there.
Yeah.
But what we can do is help each other by having these discussions and, you know, like AC was talking about, like removing stigma that people place on things. I've told AC this story a bunch of times, that I threw my football helmet at my coach for calling me a burnout in high school when I played football, and I did some organized sports. And just like that hurts, you know, because I was not an underachiever either. It wasn't like I was like, not that even matters, but like I was doing well in school and I was juggling a bunch of extracurriculars, and still that dickhead had the balls to call me a burnout because I had long hair and maybe I smelled like some bud every once in a while. I don't know.
Sounds very old-fashioned.
A very old-fashioned way of thinking about just things.
Yeah.
I guess.
Like when teachers would be like, "Go smoke another one," I'd be like, "Okay."
I
Get up and leave class.
Well, that's what being mindful of the language can do, though. It can change these narratives slowly, but that is taking care of each other and taking care of our community, is being like kind of bold enough in certain circumstances where you feel comfortable standing up for like the myths that get kind of reinforced generation after generation that are harmful. Like the boys don't cry stuff, like the she can't wear that thing, or the egregious and disgusting trans people, blah, fill in the negative thing. You got to call that shit so that people can have conversations that dispel and demystify those things and give people a chance to be heard, or to be kind of emboldened themselves to speak up about what's going on with them on the inside, so that they can find some relief. Nobody deserves to have all of this pressure and this stress and like absolutely no support, or not even like see any support on the horizon. Do you know what I mean? So,
Here.
Yeah.
Here.
So I think language, powerful language. With that, there's a little bit of George Carlin, a really amazing comedian that is like the punk rock of comedy. I kind of feel like we're not going to watch the whole YouTube video, but we're going to watch sections of it and pause and discuss and stuff like that. I think he makes some pretty salient points, and he's talking about language that we use every day and over time. And I mean, this is from pretty long ago, but you'll be like, whoa, damn, that's relevant. Like
all of this stuff is relevant.
Yeah.
It's like amazing.
So let's just watch a little George Carlin for a second to talk about powerful language and see what's up.
That conceal reality. I don't like euphemisms or euphemistic language. And American English is loaded with euphemisms because Americans have a lot of trouble dealing with reality. Americans have trouble facing the truth. So they invent a kind of a soft language to protect themselves from it. And it gets worse with every generation. For some reason, it just keeps getting worse. I'll give you an example of that. There's a condition in combat. Most people know about it. It's when a fighting person's nervous system has been stressed to its absolute peak and maximum, can't take any more input. The nervous system has either snapped or is about to snap. In the First World War, that condition was called shell shock. Simple, honest, direct language. 2 syllables. Shell shock. Almost sounds like the guns themselves. That was 70 years ago. Then a whole generation went by, and the Second World War came along, and the very same combat condition was called battle fatigue. 4 syllables now. Takes a little longer to say. Doesn't seem to hurt as much. Fatigue is a nicer word than shock. Shell shock. Battle fatigue. Then we had the war in Korea, 1950. Madison Avenue was riding high by that time, and the very same combat condition was called operational exhaustion. Hey, we're up to 8 syllables now. And the humanity has been squeezed completely out of the phrase. It's totally sterile now. Operational exhaustion. Sounds like something that might happen to your car. Then, of course, came the war in Vietnam, which has only been over for about 16 or 17 years. And thanks to the lies and deceit surrounding that war, I guess it's no surprise that the very same condition was called post-traumatic stress disorder. Still 8 syllables, but we've added a hyphen. And the pain is completely buried under jargon. Post-traumatic stress disorder. I'll bet you if we'd have still been calling it shell shock, some of those Vietnam veterans might have gotten the attention they needed at the time. I'll bet you that.
I think that's a good place to pause it, Scott. There's a little more in there. Hopefully AC's all right. I think we lost him for a second, but it might be technical difficulties. He might just be taking a break. Oh, he back. All right. So I don't know, AC, did you see the video? While we're
I caught the last part of it. I had a Phoenix thing I had to take care of.
Oh, it's all good, man. And you may have already watched a little bit of that video. Well, I think he is so smart, obviously.
Yeah.
And the art of comedy being what it is, it's important to contextualize that stand-up comedians are not just up there riffing most of the time. That is a well-crafted, very deliberate use of language. He thought, I'm going to keep sculpting this joke, this bit until it's perfect. And then, oratory, memorized it, thought about his cadence, thought about how he would deliver the timing of everything up there, and then performed it, on his comedy tour or whatever. It's not just improv. So like, if you can't fully appreciate the talent and just in general intellect that it requires to be good at stand-up comedy, especially talking about shit like that.
Yeah.
First, just take a moment and appreciate that, and like just all it, in all its glory. I think he's amazing. I think what he just said in probably under 3 minutes is like hugely impactful. You can say what you want about like, oh, he's just calling back to more insensitive language of a given time. I think he considered all of that before he decided to do that on stage and film it and, all that shit many, many years ago. But the attention to detail in the history that he's adding historical markers in American history, very specific about these wars and about the adaptation of like new language to like that language at the time, as you adapt it, I'm sure it was very much like what we talk about now when we're trying to be a little more inclusive and stuff like that. So yeah, there is something to that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of softer language.
Yeah, I think that he's right that like calling it post-traumatic stress disorder is like it buries it under jargon. I definitely agree with that part of it.
Buries the pain over.
But I
jargon.
can see that like also shell shock. It's like the reason we even know about PTSD or like started learning about PTSD was just because of war. And so, calling it PTSD now is like, okay, well, now we do realize that it is anything traumatic and that a lot of things fall into that category. So I would say that that's the only sort of like the thing about calling it that's good.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's stuck.
Right.
And that's how language evolves.
It is jargony, and it is just like, what does that even mean? But
yeah, and I think it's fair for all of us to have opinions that are different and like different shades of this opinion about what we think about that evolution of language as it refers to this one particular mental health condition that is no longer kind of like only applicable to people that served in combat even.
Right.
You know what I mean? For a while, it's like only military individuals, only those who experience combat, or even a specific type of
that's
combat
what I was
experience.
Going to say, shell shock.
Right.
Is so specific.
And so then they're like, oh, okay, only military people, not necessarily combat.
Right.
And then like broaden. And that happens a lot with the history of mental health and how it kind of eventually gets to the common man or the general public, for lack of a better term. Therapy dogs and that started with a support for individuals that were soldiers and stuff like that, and kind of trickles down. And we're at a point in time now where a lot of hardworking people, a lot of advocacy took place in the past to remove some of those barriers and give parity to like other people experiencing all sorts of quality of life impact because of what's ever going on with their mental health. So I think that's really interesting, and that we can have a conversation about it, having different shades of opinions about, well, that's pretty funny because it's comedy. okay, let's take it deeper, because that's not like what Carlin's intent is. Carlin's intent is to show, hey, look at these syllables.
Yep.
Look at how short this word. Look how to the point this word is for this thing. And then, he weaves in his social commentary, his little jabs at America and how fucked up it is.
Are we going to watch more, or do we want to?
I
forget what else he talks about.
Well, he talks about some other stuff, but I think there's a couple things we should still discuss about just that first part, because it dovetails with how we talk about mental health now in the present day. And like, you might not know how to talk about the mental health conversations without just saying whatever comes to mind and just reaching for words, and that's okay. And like, if there are things that people can be offended by, or you might feel like could perpetuate harm, and hopefully you have some people that are in your lives that will say, hey, that's actually, that's not like a really cool thing to say. Mm-hmm. Because there are definite examples of a language like that. Telling somebody that, like there was a suicide in their life, and using language like killed themselves, or, there's committed suicide is one that can carry a little bit of a negative with it. Like, they committed a crime. They're not murderers, and they're not criminals. If somebody lost hope and wasn't able to get the resources they needed, and there was a tragedy like that. So it's important to be considerate of language and the power of it. And I think this bit with George Carlin, even though it seems to kind of argue the opposite, it points out language. It points out language in an important, intelligent, thought-provoking way that you can then discuss, which I think is the best.
I think that you could argue that something like saying completed versus committed suicide, like it is, you are getting more specific, actually. Mm-hmm. It's like you could almost make the opposite argument again, is that it's like, no, actually, we are, you're being more specific and more thoughtful with that kind of language. So
because he went from shell shock, right, to battle fatigue, right,
which is like,
and then he went
generalized.
Then he went to operational exhaustion,
which could be anybody is tired from doing whatever.
To post-traumatic stress, where we didn't get any more letters, but we gained a hyphen, right?
Yeah.
And he's being tongue-in-cheek. He's a comedian, obviously, but he's just so smart about it. And I think you nailed on it right at the beginning of this discussion, that pain is buried by the jargon, is kind of like incredible to me a little bit. And then he takes a jab at like the VA, or like just caring for our veterans and stuff like that, and how shitty it can be and how flawed that system can be. And that was all probably 20 years ago, at least. Carlin's been dead for probably 20 years, right? So
he said Vietnam happened 17 years ago. So it's
to
pretty old.
To kind of give reference.
But
all that stuff still seems very valid to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think what he's saying is absolutely valid, and I think the more letters, the more things that you get, the less people pay attention.
Yeah,
because it just becomes too flowery for people to care. Sometimes you need to have just be more specific so that people understand that complexity. I mean, you could be very short to the point, and people would understand better than having all these things, this flowery language around stuff, just in general.
Yeah,
and then people are like, well, what does that even mean? And then you don't have any kind of, contextualized thing to go about what you need to fix, because you're just like, there's so many letters, there's so many acronyms, there's so many whatever. It's like, I don't even know what that means anymore. Like shell shock, I understand what that means. That person was in battle, was near live ammo, and has been scarred for life. Like that makes sense to me.
Well, and is it insensitive to say that, like, I feel like I have shell shock, and and it was just like an experience that I had that was, like, is that jump in language and applying it to describe your own mental health challenges, is that insensitive? I think it's more complicated than a yes or no question.
Yeah.
You know, like AC, do you have opinions about like shell shock versus battle fatigue, operational exhaustion, and post-traumatic stress disorder for describing those things?
No.
Yeah, this question is for all of you in the chat too. If you like wanted to add, go ahead, AC.
I think it's just picking and choosing your words, I guess. You know, the right situation. Just
Like
reading the room.
which one makes the most sense to you? I guess.
Like as far as like saying shell shock or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say it. I would try and find a different word, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and that's actually there's no right or wrong answer to that question, obviously, because there's not a yes or no question. But what you're saying is the answer. Is like different people have different language. I think, like Frank, shell shock might be more to the point for him, and he might like actually prefer that.
Right.
But I can't speak for Frank. But like I think of him as an example in my life of a person that like I feel like I wouldn't be offending him by using outdated language.
Right.
Because we're friends and we have trust and we have a bond. But
well, then I
think it's
know
so complicated.
I know people pretty close to me who have had very traumatic situations happen to them, and they over long periods of time. So they have complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and now there's PTSD with extra hyphens, and it's because their situation doesn't match anything
specific
else.
The diagnostic words of how it's supposed to be filtered into.
And I wouldn't want to like leave them out, but so it's like it's like you said, it's trying to be, it's both like too much, it's too much and also trying to be inclusive. It's
we all have trauma,
and we're not going to solve that conversation. We're not going to come up with a solution that because we shouldn't. There isn't one. But the importance is to keep talking about it and like to talk to the individual like a human being that has dignity and respecting them enough as an individual to be like, what do you want me to call it? Or like what makes sense for you, and like
how do you classify this?
How should we talk about it together so that I can be in your corner and like I can support you with this, or talk to your community members too about like, hey, what do we think is the best way to approach this or like address it language wise? Because this doesn't have to be just for like mental health stuff,
But it goes back to the beginning of what we were talking about with communication.
Yeah,
definitely. If we stop talking to each other,
relearning to communicate. And relearning the language that you use to communicate certain things. I remember when I was a special ed teacher, and it was person first language, a person with this disability. I've later learned that in some communities, especially disability advocate groups and stuff like that, where they are people living with disabilities, they want it to be acknowledged as part of their identity. And that person first language is not necessarily the relevant way to talk about that. Like when I think about describing myself as a person living with bipolar disorder, that's just from that person first thing that as a professional, that was like part of my pedagogy, like this is how we're going to talk about our students that live with these various disabilities or various challenges or whatever. Does anybody like have anything to add to that?
Well, I think like that's a good, like the example. So the example would be person with bipolar versus a bipolar person, right?
Right, because you aren't it. It's just something that you deal with.
But so that's the rub.
Right.
Yeah, some people are like, no, I
am it.
That is like
I am. Yeah. Like some people, that is their
they
own piece
that.
of identity that they want respected and acknowledged.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I think the deaf community is like a good example, right?
Yeah, that's a good example.
Like I am a deaf person. You don't know what it's like to navigate the world as a deaf person.
Yeah.
For instance. I think it's just really, it goes back full circle to talk to that person, ask them, because do you want to be a dick to them?
Right.
No, you don't, because being a dick's not cool. Right. All right.
Well, I think so that
goes to everybody. That's
right.
To every single person you encounter. Like, don't be a dick. Ask them the questions that you are politely asking that are not intrusive and ridiculous to ask somebody, and then you know that they're kind of on your side.
Right.
Like,
well, it goes. It's the same with like pronouns, right? It's just like it's hard for people to get used to asking these questions because it's like, it was kind of like everyone's parents were like, don't stare, don't bring attention to it. We don't talk about that. But it's like no, just it's actually more polite. Don't beat around the bush. Just it's actually like good open communication to ask. So just say like, what are your pronouns? Would you rather me say, that you're a person who is deaf, or would you rather say a deaf person? Just ask, and then they'll be like, oh, cool, because you don't know what it's too hard to say what they would what they would prefer, or what they maybe not even prefer, what they want you. Yeah.
I mean, I think that goes, starts if we start changing the way that kids, especially little kids, talk to each other and then interact with people that might be different from themselves, and not make it be taboo. Like, don't look, don't point, don't ask.
Yeah, I remember. You know what I mean? I remember all that shit.
Exactly.
When I was little.
Stop it. Like, don't. Yeah. Like, no. You can politely go over and say, "I'm sorry, but I'm 5 and I want to know, why are you in a wheelchair, or why do you only have one arm, or whatever the question is," and not coming from a place of being mean or malice or hostile or anything like that, but like actual curiosity to know why. Yeah. So that when I see somebody else, it might be like, oh, I wonder if, whatever the thought process is for kids. And then they understand, like, that's a normal thing. Yeah. That's not weird.
Yeah, this happens to some people.
Yeah. And some people are not. So like, if we don't make it be weird, then it's not weird. And then kids can continue to grow, and that language hopefully will change. I mean, it definitely starts when they're little. I mean, just from being in a preschool classroom for a long time, Mike was in the classroom with me. We saw lots of things happening, but, we tried to make sure we fostered that language for the kids to be able to discuss things in a proper manner and ask those questions so that they could have that, knowledge of other people, and not continue to perpetuate the way that other people we were when I was little grew up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just like you just kind of have to put aside your own
uncomfortable. Exactly,
just
and that's what it is.
It's not, because it's like not even something to be uncomfortable about anymore.
I think it's too like anxiety that you're going to make that person feel uncomfortable if you ask them a question that you're curious about or that you just don't know.
Yeah,
because you don't want to make them feel weird that you want to know something.
Yeah,
I mean, in a good realm of boundaries to ask people things, but
sure, like age appropriate stuff. Like we would have to adapt curriculum to make it age appropriate all the time, as educators, all three of us, working with kids with varying needs, and it's not really all that different. It's just like having the self-awareness not to assume all the time, to just assume and like do this broad generalization. And just be like, okay, I'm done with language. I've updated all my stuff. I'm just going to say these things now all the time. You know what I mean? And if you catch yourself saying, oh, that somebody died by suicide, and you accidentally slip and you say they committed suicide, not a big deal. But if you have thought about the language enough to be like, actually, maybe I'll say it different next time. It's like a step. Like you unlearn something, but you don't unlearn it just with one step.
Right.
You need to.
Right. You have to repeat that step.
Yeah, you have to repeat this step. Was it 28?
Like 28
days in a row or something like that, and to develop a habit that sticks or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, I think Carlin is awesome, and I think we could watch like a little bit more of that because he talks about a little bit other stuff. As far as language goes, that's pretty funny and well done. So I would recommend highly watching any of his stand-up stuff if you like that sort of thing, where it's just like acrobatics with language and like pointing out things about how the world is that you're like, that's kind of fucked up. Like, that's why I like him, is because like he's not like avoiding the fact that some things are tremendously fucked up.
Well, yeah, I think that's what's impressive to me about him is that he has these observations and theories about the world, but he somehow has found a way to make it also funny. That's the trick.
He's like painting with words.
Right. Because then people don't feel so intimidated by those words if they can laugh about some of the things that they hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He died in 2008. I was just kind of curious. June 22nd, 2008. So he's been gone a long time, but you know, his words still continue to impact people. Power of language, for sure. You want to watch a little bit more of that, guys?
Yeah, let's do
a little more Carlin. Let's do it.
But it didn't happen. And one of the reasons is because we were using that soft language, that language that takes the life out of life. And it is a function of time. It does keep getting worse. Give you another example. Sometime during my life, toilet paper became bathroom tissue. I wasn't notified of this. No one asked me if I agreed with it. It just happened. Toilet paper became bathroom tissue. Sneakers became running shoes. False teeth became dental appliances. Medicine became medication. Information became directory assistance. The dump became the landfill. Car crashes became automobile accidents. Partly cloudy became partly sunny. Motels became motor lodges. House trailers became mobile homes. Used cars became previously owned transportation. Room service became guest room dining. And constipation became occasional irregularity.
All right, that's good. That's good.
When I was a little kid...
That's a good place. Man, yeah, so he can do that the juggling words thing better than anybody. So, I don't know. I just also want to highlight stand-up comedy as something that we talk about as entertainment and how much it helps me with my mental health. Like I've made that connection that it brings me joy. It makes me laugh, even if I'm having a total shit day.
Or it's a total shit subject.
Yeah. Or even if it's like, something heavy that like is a well-crafted piece of comedy performed by one of the greats, you know?
Like, I think like that's been super important with like, you know, starting with Jon Stewart, but now there's, you know, or just like, even Johnny Carson, you know, these comedians doing the news and then how that has,
for sure.
Like there are lots of people that used to only get their news from Jon Stewart.
It's true.
You know, and
lightning round insert favorite stand-up comedy person.
Oh.
Don't think about it too much. You think it too hard. It could be somebody just recently at the top of your dome. It doesn't have to be like the true answer for your favorite ever.
Robin Williams.
AC.
Chappelle, Richard Pryor.
Ali Wong. I thought of Jim Gaffigan right away, so I'll say Jim Gaffigan. I think he was just in Chicago.
Oh, was he?
I also really like Ellen's stand-up, which is funny. But like, it's because she's like, makes everyday things in her stand-up. She'll make her everyday things funny.
Yeah.
And it's like stuff that you would never think of. I don't know. It's just very simple. But like, that being said, I will say this, like, I feel this so hard lately. It is very hard for me to watch straight, white, cis male guys do stand-up now. I just, unless they are one of the like late night talk show hosts, I just don't think they're funny 90% of the time.
I 100% agree with you.
I think that
they're just so
they're like,
stupid.
I'm funny. I'm a funny dude.
I think it's so stupid.
Yes.
I think that they rely on, this is obviously a generalization, but I think that they rely on a lot of like old sexist tropes. Like, I don't want to hear about the women you're dating and what you think about them. Lame. Like, get better, you know, like, and I shouldn't even use lame. There we go. That was one of them.
Yeah.
But,
well, I guess
sorry about that, but no.
George Carlin, you give a pass.
No, because he's not talking like
he's not talking about the girls he's dating.
Generalization of it. It is a general, but like, it is a general opinion that I have. But usually, when I turn the mama, I'm like, what could you possibly say? Like, if it isn't, it's gotta be like political, or like, yeah, it's just like not gonna be funny to me. I could go on, but I just don't really have my thoughts together on it. But that's how I generally feel.
I suspect it's because you feel there's an overrepresentation of that narrative and always has been.
Yeah, but they also like just, it's also just like so overdone. Like we saw, it's just not funny anymore.
Well, because it's been the dominant thing too.
All they do is like talk about their wives, like what their wives, the women that they're dating, and put them down in this like very patriarchal way. And it's just like not funny. It's just not funny anymore.
You probably would have hated the Jim Gaffigan opening for Jerry Seinfeld's show in Chicago.
What? How do you know that?
Well, I mean, there's just two old cis white guys. And I think Gaffigan does make quite a few jokes about his wife, but his wife writes a lot of his jokes too.
Oh, really?
Did you guys know that?
That's different.
Gaffigan and his wife are like a
duo?
dynamic duo team where she writes a lot of his jokes. And
I just it's a grave generalization, but like on Netflix, when there's one that comes up and there's like a little blurb, every time I'm like, oh my God, you're kidding. But if it's, I'm just going to enjoy it a lot more. I'm going to enjoy it a lot more if it's a queer person, a woman, or a person of color.
Fair.
Fortune
because
Femster
it's just
hilarious.
Stuff that I know.
Is Fortune Femster Ali Wong's special?
No, Fortune Femster is another person.
She's
yeah.
Do you know Fortune Femster? You're a fan, huh?
I got put on Fortune.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Like a movie or like a series with.
Can we show a picture of Fortune Femster if that wouldn't be too much trouble? Go ahead, AC.
No, it's all right. Go ahead.
No, I just wanted to pull up a visual. How did you hear about Fortune Femster?
I just saw her on Netflix. She's funny.
What on Netflix? Oh, was it a stand-up special?
Yeah, she had a couple of stand-up specials on there, and then she was also on another show as well, which is escaping me right now, as a guest. I don't remember what that show was.
Yeah, I feel like I can picture Fortune Femster.
Chelsea Handler.
Yeah. Okay.
Chelsea Handler does this show, and she invites like friends over, and they
it's like a panel.
And she was one of the people on the panel. She's hilarious. I mean, she in her stand-up, she talks about like her life growing up in the South, and she's a lesbian. And her wife, how she proposed to her, but hilarious about it, and like you could feel it. It's just really, she's really entertaining.
It's awesome.
Okay, so this is a good example. I love Conan O'Brien. Okay, straight cis white guy. The reason I love him is because sometimes he does political stuff. No, but usually it's because he puts himself down constantly. So like that's what's funny about Conan is that he doesn't take his white cis straightness seriously at all. He just like he like uses that in the opposite way. I do think that like Seth Meyers, Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, I do think they are funny guys. Yeah. But I think what is fun,
Colbert.
They're not. Colbert and like John Oliver are in like a whole different.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I respect. I respect them as journalists kind of as well.
Yeah, but I think it's like they're not talking about themselves being that. They're talking about other stuff. So like that's the thing. It's just when you have a whole stand-up special, it always gets personal.
Yeah.
And that's when I'm just like, not funny. Not funny anymore.
Do you have a favorite Richard Pryor, AC?
No, not really.
I love him though.
He's
like
another
you brought
person
up
watch.
one of my faves.
Yeah, he's another person you can watch old stuff and it still slaps.
Just smart as hell, right? Like the way he talks about difficult shit. Is him and Carlin were friends, right? Like didn't they kind of come up around the same time?
I'm not really sure.
I've seen Carlin like name drop Richard Pryor in like interviews and stuff, like just talking about like being on tour with him and stuff like that. AC, was it you that showed me the Richard Pryor playing saxophone video?
I don't think so.
Did you know he played piano and saxophone? I didn't know that until someone showed me this video of him playing saxophone like on Sesame Street or something like that.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's
like
cool.
playing the tenor saxophone like just beautifully, and I guess he was a really good piano player too, but I didn't know that about him. Just super talented.
We should move on.
Oh, okay, yeah. We've got other things to discuss. We should keep moving, I suppose.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. That was fun though to talk about the power of language and spend some time talking about our favorite comics. And just keep that in mind. Keep it in your back pocket if you have like the need for a mood enhancement, right? I think those things are really important reminders. What are some of your guys' go-tos? This is a question for all of us. What do you do? Like, since you're not a comedy writer, what is like your go-to for like kind of dealing with the stuff inside? I don't think any of us do stand-up.
I don't do stand-up.
Yeah.
No.
I've done stand-up once.
Oh yeah?
Were you funny?
I think I'm funny. I think a lot of people don't know that I'm funny, or they take my ideas and they use it instead. But no, I did. I think I bombed because I was, it was my first time.
Gotcha.
Nervous. I would be so nervous. I feel very comfortable with the instrument in my hand on stage.
But without it.
But with sometimes I've sung without an instrument in my hand and it's been fine. But making music, I think, is kind of different than doing stand-up.
Yeah, no, I haven't done.
Well, so yeah, for me, obviously, you guys have heard me talk about it a bunch. My creative output that's like most reliable is playing guitar and writing songs on guitar, singing.
AC, what's your most reliable outlet?
Just music. Just playing music. Listening to it. It's pretty much one of those two.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite type of music to listen to, AC? Do you have a favorite, like a top favorite that like just brings you back to where you want to be your best AC?
Andre 3000 and all of his flutes.
Oh yeah.
Its own genre. Its own genre altogether.
That reminds me, man. Like, I don't know that everybody knows what you're talking about, but like, can you kind of tell us what you're referring to?
Andre 3000 put out a record Friday, and it's all flutes. There's no words.
Does it use, like different flutes? Like, is it just like
it's like playing woodwind flutes and electronic flutes? It really sounds like a world record. He hasn't put out like a rap record in like, I don't know, 10 or 15 years or a long time. So he put out, I get it. He's one of the greatest MCs ever, and he just doesn't feel like rapping anymore. He's got a really interesting interview on GQ. If you look it up, you can read it, you can watch it. He's got a lot of interesting things to say. I get it. If I were him and I had done everything that he's done in his career, I get it. Like some people might not remember when there were these pictures and memes of him showing up where it was like Asia or something, backpacking with flutes. I remember seeing that back then and being like, what are you doing? But at the same time, I'm like, you're Andre 3000. So, of course, you're walking around Asia with flutes and no security.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like one of the most famous MCs, artists. Even we can throw actor in there in the world. You're walking around Asia with a backpack and a flute, no security. And then you drop a record. Like,
all flute.
I get it. And, you know, for someone that's done it all, you know, in his interview, he's like, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to talk about at 50-something years old? I've done it all. I've said all that I can say. Like, this is the outlet. This is what I feel.
This is, I just pulled up the album because the first song is called, I swear I really wanted to make an album, but this is literally the way.
A rap album.
I swear I really wanted to make a rap album, but this is literally the way the wind blew me. It's the first the first song is called that, and then all of them have really long titles.
All the songs are like 13, 15 minutes long.
Just the flute. Is there any other company?
Oh, yeah.
There's other sounds and
like a whole world of sound.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's other things in the background, but it's like him playing flute.
The flute.
The flute.
And the thing is that why this is so genius is because it's going to totally change the game and the world of music. Because anybody as it is can just go and make music and release it. But now it's just like people are going to be like, he just made a record just playing flute, and it's not everybody can just make a record
with flutes. And not everybody can play the flute, yeah.
But it's like it's going to start giving people that, who cares? I'm just going to do it. If Andre 3000 can go make a record of flutes, and why can't I go put out a record of me trying to sing or me trying to do this, you know? And I think it's also going to bring attention. I was telling Mike V this. It's going to bring a lot of attention to world music. There's a lot of music out there that uses a lot of woodwinds, a lot of xylophones, a lot of crazy instrumentation that doesn't get the credit that it so rightfully deserves.
Absolutely.
So watch, that stuff's going to start popping up. I guarantee it.
Jazz
jazz. A lot of jazz will be. Yeah. Does he have duos with Lizzo playing flute?
No, I don't think so. I don't think Lizzo was involved, but that would be cool.
Oh, she's kicking herself somewhere right now.
Yeah,
they probably
will. Like,
I mean, now they probably will. That would be like badass. Have like a
somebody from her team, probably like a year and a half ago, was like, "You should do a flute record," and she was like, "You're crazy. You're fired." And now she's looking at Andre's like,
damn,
I should have done that record.
I should have done that. Yeah.
Well, maybe she'll get the crystal flute back out, and they'll have like a battle.
I was walking downtown because it came out last Friday. I was walking downtown while I was working with my earbuds and listening to the first couple tracks, and it's like really like atmospheric and kind of chill vibes, and there's like just this soothingness to it. But then I was walking past one of those big ass cathedrals, and it's like 6 p.m. and all the bells are ringing. But for a second, I had no idea if it was like
in the music,
in the record, or if it was like actually happening outside my earbuds. And I realized that, like, you know, after like 30 seconds or whatever. But I was like, whoa! For a second, I was like, he's playing some bells on this record too, you know. But yeah, it's electronic woodwinds are a different sound for sure. It's like a synthesizer, but it's like this instrument. It kind of looks like a recorder or something like that.
Yeah.
That it still takes your wind, like as if it's going through like a reed and all that, and translates it to these electronic sounds. So
versus man, the bamboo flute.
He's just totally like he's always been somebody that kind of just is a true original. All the Outcast stuff that is out there, if you're not aware, and you want to dig deep on like something that's very rich musically, like, you know, they had some of the bigger, most popular songs you've ever heard, like that Sorry Miss Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, you know, I am for real. That song, Hey Ya, and I would say So Fresh and So Clean are like some pretty huge Outkast tunes out there.
Elevators, Bombs Over Baghdad.
Yeah, I mean, they got hits galore, but dig deeper too. There's just so much stuff. That Roses song from The Love Below, Speaker Box, double LP, that was huge.
3 million streams in the first 24 hours.
3 million? Wow.
Whoa.
3
that's
million streams. Oh my God.
There's going to be all this, all these other flutists who are flautists who are like, what about my flute album?
The flute is hard to play. I used to play the flute in high school and in middle school.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
And before we do a highlight of Sign of the Times, what's your outlet go to?
Painting.
And
growing cannabis.
Nice. A little gardening. We'll come back to talking about that to wrap things up. But if you just enjoyed kind of how passionate and thought-provoking AC can be when he gets talking about music that he's into, you should check out his stream, Sign of the Times. I think we have a little highlight clip from last Friday's live stream broadcast, right? This past Friday. So let's roll that. Oh, I need some sound. Turn me up in my headphones. I think it's coming back. I think it'll come back. Don't you?
I think so. Or AC could just pretend like he's talking about it again.
It is done from the same seat.
It is, and it's the same blue.
Oh yeah.
Light of my summer.
There we are.
Hands down was I got to see one of my favorite hip hop groups of all time. I grew up on them. Little group out from California called Souls of Mischief. From I do believe from Oakland, from the Bay. These guys are hip hop royalty. They came out with 93 Till Infinity back in 93. And they're on their 30-year tour of this record, which is amazing. You know, there's not a lot of, acts that can do that. I don't care if you're hip hop, rock, punk, whatever. That's a big deal. 30 years is huge. And they're going strong. They're killing it. A little backstory for those of you that don't know Souls of Mischief. Like I said, they're from the Bay, Oakland. Del the Funky Homo Sapien is the one that put these dudes on. Like, pretty much founded them, put them on. Like, they started the hip hop crew Hieroglyphics, which also had MCs like Casual, Pep Love. It was just a real tight clique of MCs back in the day in California. This was huge, This is before, like, God, what were those other hip hop groups back in the day?
Dude, so Souls of Mischief you showed me, I would have never probably found half of the cool hip hop music that I listen to now if it wasn't for your just epic tastes. You enjoying being back on with the Sign of the Times? You probably talked about all sorts of stuff. Did you talk about the Andre album on Sign of the Times this past Friday?
I don't think I did.
I think it had just dropped. It had just dropped. Yeah. But if you want to tune into the full episode and hear more about Souls of Mischief, absolutely check out the YouTube for Hope for Us Network. We have the archive broadcasts that get posted there in case you miss any of the live streams when they're happening. And you'll learn about all sorts of cool backstories behind some of the music that you've heard. You'll probably learn about some new music and get some like suggestions on like where you can kind of like start as far as maybe some artists you've never heard. So it's always fun tuning into that live stream. Make sure you set your calendar alerts or whatever you do to make sure you don't miss the live streams. Yeah. So pretty cool. So your outlet painting, what about painting kind of lifts your mood or like helps you be resilient?
What about it? I think just because it's like I can get lost in depending on what I'm painting, I can get lost like in the canvas. And then sometimes I'm able to like see the painting differently.
Sure.
When I'm listening to different things, or maybe I might have something on like the Kindle or whatever. It's just kind of like a mood release for me. And usually I'm painting by myself in the garage. So it's kind of cathartic for me to not have any other outside noise that's like bothering me and letting me just kind of like detox for the day. And usually I paint after work. So it's kind of, and especially during the pandemic, it was a big deal because we weren't going anywhere. And since I get sick very easily, like I wasn't going anywhere. So walking from my house to the detached garage was like, I got to leave my house, and so it was like another place to go as opposed to just being stuck in the house all the time.
It's like changing the
atmosphere and just being able to be out there. And, sometimes like I'll do other crafts. If I'm not painting, I'll make stuff, paper mache or whatever, just like doing some sort of creative outlet, just to kind of ease my boredom and not do other things that are self-sabotaging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And I think we're all a little rusty on the live stream too. So I didn't check this private chat that was happening. AC had to get going and we were going to give him a second to say goodbye. Had I been looking at the private chat, but he sends his love. He had to take his puppy out and get somewhere he needed to be. But
Bye,
we love you, AC. We love Sign of the Times, and we were glad to hear from you today on these various topics. So I'm sorry that we talked right through that. But yeah, so your she shed, you call it, yeah?
Yeah.
Is that the garage area?
That's the
she shed.
The garage area, yes.
What's your favorite type of painting to do? Do you have a preferred medium?
Yes, I usually use oil on canvas and then oil with like all Mod Podge other things on top of it sometimes to make it have like a 3D effect on different things that I'm working on.
Little mixed media.
Yeah, a little mixed media. Sometimes some paper mache again on top of oil after it's dried, just to kind of give it like a different texture.
What's paper mache again? It's like strips of newspaper?
It could be strips of newspaper or strips of regular paper. It's usually paper and a glue kind of mixture. So you can use water and flour to make like paper mache.
Nice.
Yeah, you just kind of make it into a paste, and then add it to your strips of paper, and then add that to whatever you're making.
Yeah.
Or you can use Mod Podge, which is a lot easier because it's already like gluey goo. Or you can use like Elmer's and water and just water it down and do it that way.
Nice.
Yeah, and you just put it on whatever. So you could wrap a balloon in it, or you could add it to your canvas, or you could use other structures to make different things. Yeah.
Mod Podge is cool. If you don't know what Mod Podge is, it's at like Joann's or other craft stores where basically you like kind of can paint over something with this clear liquid.
Yeah, it's like a clear glue almost, and it has different. They have different ones. They have matte ones. They have shiny ones, glossy. They have semi-glossy. Blah blah blah. They have colored, glow in the dark, and then you could put it on whatever. You can put it on top of your canvas. So, for example, I painted a picture recently of Alice in Wonderland, and I painted over it in the glow in the dark Mod Podge.
Oh, cool.
On certain parts of the painting.
Oh, nice.
So it glows in the dark.
Whoa.
Yeah, but I had to wait obviously till the oil dried.
Yeah, you can also kind of seal things with it. Like I think I put it over one of my stickers.
Yeah.
To kind of seal it.
Yeah, they have it as a sealant as well. So it's multifunctional arting.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think probably pruning your plants and like taking care of them and stuff. That's an outlet that you mentioned just because.
Yeah.
What about that?
So my plants are in the garage too, in the she shed, and so I'll play the music sometimes, or I'll go in there and I'll talk to them while I'm pruning them or giving them their nutrients or watering them or whatever I'm doing, making sure the temperature's okay. any of those things that go
Caring for
into
them,
into the plant. I check them every day just to make sure that they're doing okay. It's just another thing to like care for, and I know the outlet is going to be the outcome is going to be good at the end. So, helps me with my patience.
Do you, for any kind of like crafting you do,
Mm-hmm.
You said that you like paint after work. So do you sort of schedule it in?
I try to. I haven't painted recently, like in the last, I would say 2 weeks or so. And so that's been a little bit stressful for me because I haven't had that outlet.
Yeah.
But because I had hurt my wrist a while back, it's been kind of painful for me to paint. So that's been weighing on me a little bit because I want to paint and I can't because it hurts.
Yeah.
I tried painting with my left hand. Not really. I'm not ambidextrous, obviously. So I try to schedule it in to make sure I do that and also spend time with, my partner and my dog.
Juggling.
Yeah. But I try to get it in, and I sometimes it's a double-edged sword because I'll paint really late and then it's like, oh no, I have to go to bed because I have to go to work, and it's like, I get into this cycle of not sleeping like I should, and that kind of is detrimental to my mental health. But at the same time, I need to paint in order to make myself feel better.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, a lot of times when people aren't feeling right mentally, either like since we don't talk about it like an everyday thing, they don't think, oh, maybe I haven't been sleeping that well. Like a lot of times, like you're sleep deprived and it's really making it hard to regulate. But like since people don't always make that connection or are like talking about how that might affect their mental health, they don't think of it and they think it's all these other things. I'm bad, I'm this, I'm that. It's like you're tired.
Yeah, you're tired.
It's okay. People get tired.
Mm-hmm.
You need sleep to like repair the frayed ends of your mind at the end of a stressful day.
Yeah, and it's okay to tell people no.
Yeah.
Like no, I just don't want to. Like, and not feel like you have to give people an explanation as to why. Who cares why? I don't want to. Like, I want to just be right now. And sometimes just being is sitting outside looking at a canvas and I'm not doing anything. I'm just staring at it because sometimes that's just what I need to do in order to make myself feel better.
You just need to be by yourself.
Yeah.
You need to be in your happy place. And it's good to be able to have like a physical place that kind of is established for you like that. And if you don't have one at home, you can create one.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Sometimes people come out there and join me and that's nice as well. But, I like it to be a certain way. So if people join that aren't participating in arting or whatever, then that's an added noise that I had other places that I left that place to get to the quiet. So it doesn't help me at that point. Like, but you can come and art with me or paint with me or you talk, but I don't need added stimuli to my quiet place because then it doesn't help.
Yeah, that's true. And you've been doing a bunch of fiber art lately.
I guess you could call it that.
So, well, I call it fiber art whenever it's knitting or crocheting, or if you're doing fabric stuff. I guess I would call that like making clothes or something like that. Sewing when you do that. But you have so many outlets. Yeah. So many different ways that you. Well, I mean, it's okay to dabble. It's okay to be a dabbler, and it's okay to just like have a lot of stuff to turn to if you're. Kind of needing to stay busy or occupy your mind or just feel like you're accomplishing something. It's really great to have a lot of things to draw on. What have you been working on?
Well, so my grandma she was a knitter. I never met her, but she was a knitter and a crocheter, and she also sewed and a bunch of other stuff. But she did both, and I was handed down all of her needles and some of her yarn. So when I got that stuff, I tried to crochet, but I just didn't really know anything about like yarn tension, which is like how hard you're looping basically. I didn't know anything about that. And so I was like trying to make a scarf, and it was just getting smaller and smaller. So I tried knitting, and that made more sense to me, because with knitting you have 2 needles and all of your stitches are on on the needle, and then you knit kind of into that. And it made more sense to me in learning how to work with yarn. But then, so then I kind of went back to crochet recently when I kept getting ads for the Woobles, which is on Shark Tank. So I got Mike a Woobles. This isn't an ad, by the way. But I got Mike a dinosaur to try, and they send you
Fred the dinosaur
with everything in there.
Fred.
Yeah. Fred. So they send you with it pre-started, and then they send you with the needle and
stitch markers too.
She links you to She links you to the instructions, and so you just follow through the video and click through. So it's step by step, and it's really great. So so I made a cat.
That cat rules.
And
it's got a little tail.
The cat a hat.
All right.
And then I made this ghost who glows in the dark. So I got a bundle of Halloween ones because I love Halloween. So I have a Frankenstein to make. I have a bat to make.
Look at all. See, it's all a bunch of little loops, little knots.
Yeah.
Little arms.
And it was really pretty. It was really quite easy. And I feel like I can do a bunch of stuff now. So yeah, highly recommend. I mean, so it's the art of animagari, I think is what it's called.
Animagari.
Which is just making crochets, stuffed animals like that. So
okay, so that's the thing.
Yeah.
And those, those of you that might be thinking about gifts for the holidays and stuff, you can make stuff. You can make stuff for people and save some money.
I think I'm gonna do one of these and give the thing to my friend. But you could also give them the kit if they like.
Yeah. Well, what I was getting at is that, if you wanted a kit because you didn't know how to do something, you could learn how to do something from a kit like this, and you could probably then take the thing you made and the way that it's got videos that go with it and stuff like that, you can make sure that you're going to have a decent end product. But then also if you're just somebody that likes to knit, or you're someone that likes to crochet or make clothes or paint, there's something very special about getting a gift that someone made for you and took time and put that time into making something for you. And it can be a way to kind of save some money during what can feel like a stressful time already, and then a pressure to spend a bunch of money on people. I like in years past where we've made little yummy things like chocolate covered pretzels are pretty fun and easy to do, or making fresh cookies for people, brownies.
You can make a hot chocolate kit for somebody.
Hot chocolate kits are pretty fun. Remember when we made the olive oil thing?
Oh yeah, we infused olive oil with rosemary and garlic.
Yeah, we basically made these little bottles of cute little garlic infused oil for people to cook with, and gave them to my aunts and stuff like that.
Could make spicy ones.
I've even made little gift baskets of fun stuff from Dollar Tree or the dollar store and stuff like that, because just putting it all together into a little party kit or something like that,
a grab bag.
Or, for my mom, I've done a little gardening pail or something like that full of seeds and stuff like that, or her favorite candies and cough drops and stuff or whatever that she likes to kind of have on hand. So yeah, just some random gift ideas as we're kind of heading into the holidays and everything. We were gonna do a couple other things on today's show, but I think it's probably
got carried away.
Yeah, I think we can save it for another time because there's a new Mario out. We were gonna watch the trailer for that and kind of think about that, talk about it, and hear what everybody thought about it. But we're gonna save that, I think. And we've got some books and stuff that we're going to share with y'all at another point too. But I think we've got just one last thing. Should we do pump up the jam and get out of here?
Yeah.
Should we pump up the jam? We're going to turn off the lights and get the cool lights going, and we're going to pump up the jam to leave you today feeling good and uplifted. And we're going to get the fiber optics going. So I'm going to turn off that light. You turn off that light.
Okay.
Okay. And Alexa, play Pump Up the Jam.
Okay, pump up the jam by Technitronic on Erin's
Nanny!
No, you can't bark because pump up the jam. Ready? You have to pump up the jam. Ready? Here we go.
Pump up the jam. Alexa, turn up. You ready?
Yeah,
Let's pump up the
And
jam.
he's pumping up the jam too.
Pump it up. Yeah, pump up the jam. Thanks for watching the Tomorrow Show live stream on the Hope for Us Network.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for our
Thanks,
guest,
Alia.
Alia Reichert, artist, cannabis professional, and awesome friend.
Woo!
Thanks to our co-host AC. Go check out his music. You know AC. The Quarantine Chronicles Volume 1 and Volume 2. He's got some singles out there too. You should add to your playlists and such. And then, of course, follow Hope for Us Network on all your socials. Get up to date on the events upcoming. Use their resource finder if you're trying to help somebody locate resources, free or reduced resources in your area. And keep pumping up the jam, okay? We're going to do this again next month. We'll have a different guest, but maybe Alia will pop in and give some more knowledge. I don't know. We're going to wait and see. But most of all, thank you, Scramsky, and all you viewers out there. Hope you have a good holiday. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you soon. Pump up the jam.